Chapter 8 talks about students with special needs other than those with disabilities. You're going to be able to describe the students who are at risk, those who are culturally diverse, and you'll see some additional PowerPoints on students who are gifted and talented, as well as ADHD and Section 504. So you'll have some tools in your toolbox to work with when you're done with this chapter. Important vocabulary are listed here. Early intervening services isn't something that you typically hear about, but it's actually the federal term for response to intervention. And again, culturally responsive teaching, high-risk behaviors, and resiliency are three other items we'll talk about. So early intervening services are those that come early in the life of a child, whether it's an infant screening and then Head Start programs or other preventative programs to work with students who might be at risk. As I mentioned, early intervening services is the term that is in No Child Left Behind, and those early intervening services or response to intervention are effective for English language learners and other at-risk populations. We need to be careful that we're not putting all kids who are English learners into the at-risk category. They bring a lot of strengths, and their cultural distinctiveness really adds a robust nature to our classrooms. So your text will provide you with some resources, and I've also included some additional resources in this chapter. When we're talking about older students, many times we have a litany of potential concerns, and this checklist gives you a few of those you can look at. See if these are areas that you might be dealing with the students that you're working with. We also want to point out there are some very helpful ideas that you can gather from the Research Institute. Their work with developmental assets has been found to be very effective in reducing high-risk behaviors. You'll note that over here on this side, the column lists a few of the high-risk behaviors that we see in students we work with: problem alcohol use, violence, other school problems such as skipping or low grades. Kids who have fewer assets or strengths in terms of outside interests or adult support tend to have higher risky behaviors, and you can see that all along this line, students who have fewer assets have greater potential for high-risk behaviors. Okay, so just a little bit of background here. Developmental assets represent the relationships, opportunities, and personal qualities that young people need to avoid risks and to thrive. When we look at the gap, those people who have fewer than half of the 40 assets tend to have, actually most kids, have fewer than half of the 40 assets that are identified by the Search Institute, and boys have fewer than girls in most cases. So this is just one way that schools and different organizations are using to look at positive youth development. It shows that those young people who do have more assets are less likely to engage in high-risk behaviors. And they are helpful for all young people regardless of gender, economic status, family, or race or ethnic background. So you can read more about the developmental assets on the Search Institute website, and that's listed here. And in addition, you might be starting to think about how can you implement these in your classrooms, whether they're external support systems or teaching practices that young people can start to internalize, whether it's personal positive statements or building social competency. When we're talking about culturally responsive teaching, again, your book, Chapter 8, does a nice job of introducing that, but it's important for us to remember that some of the characteristics for culturally responsive teaching are listed here. Positive regarding of parents and families, and communicating our high expectations.